Have you ever contemplated what the future of food might look like? In our rapidly advancing world, the way we produce and consume food is undergoing a seismic shift. Just as the steam engine revolutionized transportation and the internet transformed communication, a new wave of scientific innovation is set to redefine our dinner plates. The future of food is not just about new recipes or exotic ingredients. It's about harnessing the power of science to create sustainable and ethical alternatives to traditional food production. As we stand on the brink of this new era, one term is quickly becoming synonymous with the future of food: lab-grown meat. Yes, you heard it right. Meat grown in a lab. It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, doesn't it? But it's not a futuristic fantasy. Scientists around the globe are turning this dream into a reality, one petri dish at a time. Lab-grown meat, also known as cultured meat or cell-based meat, is an innovative technology that promises to revolutionize our food system. It involves cultivating animal cells in a lab environment to produce meat without the need for raising and slaughtering animals. This is not just a novel idea, it's a potential solution to some of the most pressing challenges of our time. From addressing food security and reducing the environmental impact of livestock farming to preventing animal cruelty, lab-grown meat could be a game changer. But like any innovation, it's not without its challenges and controversies. There are questions about its taste, texture, and nutritional value, not to mention the regulatory hurdles and public perceptions to be overcome. But as we venture into this uncharted territory, we must remember that every great innovation started as a wild idea. After all, who would have thought 100 years ago that we would be carrying supercomputers in our pockets today? So let's embark on this journey together, exploring the science, the benefits, and the challenges of this promising technology. Because, believe it or not, the future of food is here, and it's called lab-grown meat. So you might be wondering, what exactly is lab-grown meat? Well, let's delve into answering that question. Lab-grown meat, also known as cultured meat or cell-based meat, is a form of meat that's been produced directly from animal cells in a laboratory setting. Yes, you heard that right. It's meat, but not in the traditional sense that we're used to. It's not sourced from an animal that's been raised and slaughtered. Instead, it's created from the very cells that make up animal tissue. Now, how is this meat produced? Well, the process begins with obtaining a small sample of animal cells. This could be from a biopsy of a living animal or even from a piece of meat. These cells are then placed in a culture medium, a nourishing substance that allows them to grow and multiply. Over time, these cells form muscle tissue, which is essentially what meat is. The process is akin to how a seed sprouts and grows into a plant, but instead of a plant, we're growing meat. It's a fascinating process, isn't it? Now on to the benefits. Lab-grown meat offers a way to produce meat that's potentially kinder to animals. After all, the process doesn't require animals to be raised for slaughter. It also promises to be more environmentally friendly. Traditional livestock farming is a significant contributor to greenhouse gas emissions, deforestation, and water pollution. Lab-grown meat, on the other hand, could drastically reduce these environmental impacts. Furthermore, lab-grown meat could potentially help in the fight against world hunger. By producing meat in laboratories, we could create a more efficient and sustainable food production system. This could enable us to feed more people with fewer resources. In a world where sustainability and ethical consumption are becoming increasingly important, lab-grown meat presents a compelling alternative to traditional meat production. It's a product of science and technology, bridging the gap between our love for meat and our need to protect the environment and animal welfare. Lab-grown meat, a product of science and technology, is poised to revolutionize our food systems. So next time you're tucking into a steak or a burger, remember it might just have been grown in a lab. But how do scientists actually grow meat in a lab? Well, it's a fascinating process that combines biology, biotechnology, and a bit of culinary artistry. The process begins with something we all have within us: cells. But not just any cells. These are special cells called stem cells that have the ability to transform or differentiate into many different types of cells, including muscle cells, which make up the bulk of what we consider meat. Scientists start by taking a small sample of animal tissue, often through a painless biopsy from a live animal. From this sample, they isolate the stem cells. These cells are then placed in a nutrient-rich culture medium that allows them to multiply and grow. This culture medium is like a high-tech soup, containing all the nutrients the cells need to thrive. Sugars, amino acids, minerals, and growth factors that signal the cells to grow and divide. At this stage, we have a mass of undifferentiated cells. Now comes the tricky part, getting these cells to act like muscle cells. This is where the process of differentiation comes in. Through a combination of biological signals, the cells are coaxed into becoming muscle cells. They start to align with each other, forming muscle fibers, just like in natural muscle tissue. But muscle tissue is more than just muscle cells. It also contains connective tissue, blood vessels, and fat cells that give meat its unique texture and flavor. To recreate this, scientists use a technique called tissue engineering. They cultivate different types of cells, including fat cells and fibroblasts that form connective tissue in the same culture. Over time, these cells come together to form a three-dimensional structure that resembles a piece of meat. The final product is cultured meat, also known as lab-grown meat. It's not made from plants or synthetic materials, it's real meat, grown from real animal cells, but without the need for raising and slaughtering animals. This process is continuously being refined. Scientists are working on ways to make the meat more similar to traditional meat in terms of texture and taste. They're also trying to make the process more efficient and less costly, so that lab-grown meat can become a sustainable and affordable alternative to traditional meat. So in essence, the science of lab-grown meat is about replicating the natural process of muscle growth in a controlled environment. It's about leveraging the inherent flexibility of cells and coaxing them into forming the specific tissues we want. And it's about creating a product that is not only similar to traditional meat in terms of its physical and chemical properties, but also produced in a way that is potentially more sustainable and humane. So that's the magic of science, turning a few cells into a full-fledged piece of meat. The question now is, why should we even consider lab-grown meat? It's a pertinent question, and the answer lies in the multitude of benefits that lab-grown meat brings to the table. Let's start with animal welfare. Traditional methods of meat production often involve practices that raise serious ethical questions. Livestock farming can be brutal and inhumane, and billions of animals are slaughtered every year to meet the global demand for meat. Lab-grown meat, on the other hand, requires just a small sample of animal cells. This means we could drastically reduce the number of animals raised for slaughter, effectively eliminating much of the suffering involved in conventional meat farming. Next, let's talk about the environment. The current methods of meat production are notoriously harmful to our planet. Livestock farming contributes significantly to greenhouse gas emissions, deforestation, and water pollution. It's also a highly inefficient use of resources, with vast amounts of land, water, and feed required to produce a relatively small amount of meat. Lab-grown meat, however, has the potential to be far more sustainable. It requires less land, less water, and produces fewer greenhouse gases. It's a win for our planet. But the benefits of lab-grown meat don't stop there. Let's consider its potential to combat global food shortages. As our global population continues to grow, so does the demand for protein-rich foods. Traditional meat farming simply can't keep up in a sustainable way. It's also susceptible to diseases that can wipe out entire stocks, leading to volatile price swings and food insecurity. Lab-grown meat, though, could be the solution. It can be produced in controlled environments, making it less vulnerable to disease. It can also be scaled up or down to meet demand, providing a more reliable and resilient food source. And how about health benefits? Studies suggest that lab-grown meat can be engineered to be healthier than conventionally farmed meat. It can be fortified with essential nutrients and vitamins, and harmful substances like saturated fats and cholesterol can be reduced. This could help tackle health issues such as heart disease and obesity, which are often linked to high meat consumption. Lastly, there's the exciting potential for culinary innovation. Imagine being able to enjoy exotic meats without the ethical dilemmas or environmental harm. Or how about a steak tailored to your personal taste preferences, right down to the marbling? The possibilities are virtually endless. So to sum up, lab-grown meat offers an alternative that is kinder to animals, easier on the environment, and more sustainable in the face of growing global food demand. It also holds promise for improved health and new culinary experiences. Lab-grown meat presents a compelling case for a more sustainable and humane future of food. However, like any revolutionary concept, lab-grown meat has its share of challenges and controversies. First up, let's talk about the technical difficulties. Cultivating meat in a lab is a complex process that requires precision and expertise. It's not as simple as creating a petri dish burger. Scientists are still grappling with how to replicate the taste, texture, and nutritional profile of traditional meat. There's also the challenge of scaling up production to meet potential demand. As it stands, lab-grown meat is a costly endeavor, and bringing down these costs is a significant hurdle to overcome. Then there are the regulatory hurdles. Even if scientists perfect the process, the product must pass rigorous food safety standards before it can land on your dinner plate. Different countries have different regulations, and navigating this labyrinth is no easy task. But perhaps the most significant challenge is consumer acceptance. People have been eating traditional meat for millennia. Convincing them to switch to a lab-grown alternative is a monumental task. There are concerns about taste, health implications, and even the yuck factor. Beyond these pragmatic challenges, there are also ethical and cultural concerns to consider. Some argue that lab-grown meat is unnatural, while others worry about its impact on traditional farming communities. Then there are those who question if it's ethical to create meat in a lab at all. And let's not forget the religious and cultural implications. For some, the way meat is produced is tied to their beliefs and traditions. How would lab-grown meat fit into this framework? It's a question that needs careful consideration. In conclusion, lab-grown meat is a promising but controversial concept. It's a field that's evolving and changing, and there's a long road ahead before it becomes a mainstream choice. From technical and regulatory challenges to cultural and ethical concerns, there are many hurdles to overcome. While the road to mainstream acceptance of lab-grown meat is fraught with challenges, the potential benefits make it a journey worth undertaking. The future of food is not a distant dream, it's happening now. Imagine a world where we can enjoy our favorite carnivorous delights without the guilt of environmental degradation or animal suffering. That's the promise of lab-grown meat, and it's a promise that's being realized as we speak. Across the globe, in select corners of scientific innovation, lab-grown meat is starting to make its way from petri dishes to dinner plates. Singapore, for instance, became the first country to approve the sale of lab-grown meat, ushering in a new era of sustainable and ethical food consumption. This isn't a science fiction movie, it's the reality of our modern world. But the potential of lab-grown meat extends beyond mere commercialization. It promises to reshape our food systems and diets in ways we've only begun to envision. The traditional livestock industry, with its vast environmental footprint and ethical concerns, could be dramatically transformed. Imagine a world where deforestation for animal grazing becomes a thing of the past, where greenhouse gas emissions from livestock farming plummet, where the threat of zoonotic diseases is significantly reduced. That's the world that lab-grown meat could help create. Moreover, this technology could democratize access to high-quality protein. In a world where nearly 1 in 9 people are undernourished, lab-grown meat could be a game-changer, providing a sustainable source of protein that's not constrained by the limits of traditional farming. But perhaps most exciting of all, lab-grown meat has the potential to revolutionize our culinary landscape. Chefs could experiment with new textures, flavors, and dishes, unfettered by the constraints of conventional meat. The gastronomic possibilities are as endless as they are tantalizing. Lab-grown meat is not just a scientific marvel, it's a beacon of hope for a sustainable and humane future of food. As we stand at the cusp of this exciting new frontier, it's clear that the future is not just coming, it's already here. So, what have we learned about lab-grown meat and the future of food? Well, we've delved into the fascinating world of lab-grown meat, a revolutionary development that just might reshape our culinary landscape. We've explored what it is: meat produced from animal cells, grown in a lab, mirroring the taste and texture of traditional meat without the need for animal slaughter. We've examined the science behind it, a complex process involving the cultivation of muscle cells, their nurturing into muscle tissue, and eventually, the creation of edible meat. We've highlighted the benefits that this technology brings, including the potential for more sustainable and ethical meat production. However, we've also touched on the challenges and controversies from technical hurdles to public acceptance issues. And finally, we've looked at the potential impact of lab-grown meat on our future. As we look to the future of food, lab-grown meat emerges not as mere science fiction, but as a tangible, promising reality.